Hi guys, I'm gonna teach you an Isaac lesson. It's purple versus yellow, which I think was 2 weeks before the Christmas ignition night. So the 4th of December. I'm teaching you Isaac's lesson because I'm out of other things. Because I haven't written enough sermons to preach something at you right now from me. And I'm out of lessons from the retreat in October. We're doing another one at the end of January, so if you go to New Hope, please sign up. I don't want to go alone. I think Charlotte and Ellie are both coming, so that's good for me. But we should probably have more kids than leaders, so sign up if you haven't already. And Isaac said he had 0, so this will make up for copying him. Sign up. Go talk to Isaac. So, I went on a random tangent before writing anything else. Isaac might get fired for this, so nobody can fire me. I think I'm safe. But I think I know why Isaac got fired for this, and I told myself that I'd fire myself for this, so I can get fired. John 8:3-8. I should look that up. I did not prepare in advance here. I just picked a random page in my sermon book and didn't read any of it beforehand. I probably should have. Okay. John 8:3-8. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery. They made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery, and the law of Moses commanded us to stone such women. Now what do you say?" They were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him. But Jesus bent down and started to write on the ground with his finger. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, "Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to cast a stone at her." Then he stooped down and wrote on the ground. We're talking about the adulterous woman that Jesus saved from being stoned to death. I think we know this story. I know this story. Everywhere I've ever been has talked about this story. I would be shocked if you didn't know this story. I quite like this story. It's fire. Isaac made a good choice talking about it. Everyone is oppressed by something. I'll think of an example later. I'll come back to that. Oppressed means treated unfairly, unjustly, or as though they're less valuable than others. Here's my example. It's kind of gonna suck. Say you have a school bully. And they call you names. I can't think of an insult that's acceptable to say on camera, even if I'm in a room alone. But school bullies are oppressors. If you're bullied, you're oppressed by the oppressor. Boom. Everyone oppresses people. So, yeah. Oppressor, someone who treats others unfairly, uses their words and actions to hurt, bully, or exclude someone, or make others feel less valuable. Okay, now, I am going to use the, yeah, Isaac used this too. I'm going to use a good example here. I am frequently called unacceptable names because of things other people say about me. You know what? If Isaac can risk getting fired, I can do something that I'd fire myself for beforehand. So a lot of people think I'm gay. They call me an unacceptable word. That is a slur. Because of this rumor that they don't know the truth of. So, like, they haven't heard from me anything of the subject. They've heard this from other people. So they exclude me and use a word that should not be used in any context. That is not acceptable, as Isaac would say. If anybody is homophobic towards another person at youth group, Isaac is perfectly willing to go, like, handle that. I know because I've talked to him about it, because I've experienced some mild homophobia, and from leaders too, at that. So, like, I commend Isaac for his bravery and almost getting fired, but I think that was a joke. I don't know, honestly. Tori said she thinks it's a joke. So, and Isaac's not fired, and it's been a month, so I think he's okay. Oppressing someone can be intentional or unintentional. For intentional, we have, like, they could bully someone, exclude, gossip, mock, insult, judge, grudges, lie, cheat, abuse, etc. There was more written, but I couldn't fit it on the corner of the page I was using to build a chart, so, yeah. Like, for example, calling me a slur would fit under that. It's very much intentional. Because, like, possession doesn't tend to occur anymore. So, yeah. Unintentional. Ignoring someone, sarcasm, group mentality, ungodly anger, stereotypes, favoritism, teasing, competitions, when they're wrong. I don't know what when they're wrong meant, etc. Like, for example, people think I'm gay because of stereotypes. So a stereotype is, like, harmful. Don't stereotype people. I wrote, oh, I figured out the firing thing at the bottom of this page. So, Yeah. Presumably Isaac used it as an example. Ever since I told Isaac about what the leaders had said, he brought up gay people for 5 straight lessons. So, yeah. If any of you have that problem, go to Isaac. He's fire. He says he's not an ally, but like, I digress. Meta-narrative. Account of events that provides a pattern for others' beliefs and gives meaning to experiences. I don't know what brought up meta-narratives, but it's in my notes. I don't take as detailed notes on things that other people say until like recently. So I only have 2 pages of information here. I didn't write down every word Isaac spoke, so this is messy. I think we're talking about meta-narratives because of oppression, because this is about oppressive things. Your meta-narrative can be like, it's everything you believe coming from your experiences. Like, I, for example, trying to think of a belief I have that isn't like obvious based off of the fact I'm preaching. I, for example, believe that, when I mentioned in the sermon I preached earlier today, I believe that you get to heaven because you believe in God and that he died for our sins as Jesus, not because of all of the rules in Leviticus. So I treat like gay people, keeps coming back to this, that's a rule outlined in Leviticus if you didn't know. I treat them like any other Christian. I think most of the community has been hurt by the Leviticus Christians, as I'll call them, and they are scared to turn to God. So I don't think the ones that don't believe in God will go to heaven, but I also believe that those that do will. That's part of my meta-narrative. I don't know why that's my example, but that's the Leviticus rules thing. Isaac and Nat agree. So their meta-narrative's similar to mine. Same with Tori, I believe. Baptists, they disagree. Baptists are Leviticus Christians in some aspects. I've seen them eat pork, so they're kind of picky-choosy. But most Baptists I know are half Leviticus Christians. Like, they complain about drag and gay people, which are both rules in Leviticus. But they don't follow all of the rules in Leviticus, which is why I question their meta-narrative. Everyone has a meta-narrative. Thoughts, patterns, theories, research, methods, postulates, moral codes, standards of the world working. Like physics, for example, plays into my meta-narrative. And like, not being a Leviticus Christian, as we've established. Postulates, that's a math term. I can use that. Like, say I believe in, I can't think of any postulates, Mr. Hunt would not be impressed. I should work on math before I go back to school in the morning. We're not gonna work with postulates, never mind. Say I believe in the scientific method, and you believe that we should just, like, try everything. Then we have different meta-narratives. Nobody really has the exact same meta-narrative, because you're always gonna believe differently about something when there's everything to be believing things about. Like, I'm colorblind, we can use this. I think that green and gray look similar. Unless you're colorblind too, you're probably, unless they're similar, greens and grays. And then you probably would. But, like, I would just think they were the same color at that point. So our meta-narratives are different because of colors. Like, if we're to the point where color blindness plays into your meta-narrative, then nobody's gonna be exactly the same. We're all different. Meta-narratives try to explain all reality, which leads to hubris that sees opponents as irrational or dangerously deluded. And nobody agrees, so really in actuality, depending upon the subject, using a meta-narrative can make anybody your enemy. And that can lead to, like, believing someone's psychotic, essentially. Like, say for example, I'm trying to think of someone that wouldn't be offended as being used as an example here. Isaac and Nat are hard to offend, I'll use one of them. So, trying to think of something we disagree on. I agree with the one. Nat likes warm coffee. Isaac and I both don't like warm coffee as much. We drink cold coffee. Nat drinks warm coffee. So that can alienate Nat from the like, we can think Nat's crazy because he drinks warm coffee. Meta-narratives can do crazy things too. Like, at the fall retreat, we actively had, like, a good 20-minute discussion about how Nat and Cheyenne were crazy because they drank warm coffee. And almost everybody there drank warm coffee. So, bad day to be a cold coffee drinker. That's just my opinion though. I like cold coffee. Big fan. Common narratives. Human achievement. Like, you know, landing on the moon was the greatest thing to ever happen to the world, would be human achievement. Mastery. Like, the most important thing in life is mastering this one thing. Like, say, cooking. You think that it's only, like, your life only matters if you are the most amazing chef ever. That would be mastery. Surmounting pains, like depression. Getting over depression is the only reason life matters, would be surmounting pains. Choosing goals, like, I need to run my 5K in under 20 minutes or else my life doesn't matter. Independence, like, I need to be, like, in charge of my own life and, like, not dependent on another person. Otherwise, life doesn't matter. Create reality, like, don't know this one. Hold on. Logicking this out here. Like, your belief is that if you, like, do X, Y, Z, then your world can be shaped by you. Like, you can pick how your life goes. if you get like enough money or like love or a happy job. Choose meaning. It's like when you just like say the meaning of life is why your life has meaning. The meaning of life is God. Fun fact. I put that question in the spicy wings thing. And then I realized the answer was obvious. But not the meaning of life that's actually the meaning of life. It has to be the meaning of life as you see it, which could be like, the meaning of life is to be happy. All of these are ungodly. I was going somewhere with that. I don't know where. If you, like, if any of these are your main goal, like in your meta-narrative, then your meta-narrative needs work. The only godly meta-narrative, I don't know if I have, okay, yeah, I have more. We'll come back to that. So, yellow is the oppressed. We're getting to the title here, you know, yellow versus purple. Purple is the oppressor. If you mix yellow and purple paint together, it makes brown, according to my research. Or Isaac's research, actually. He's also colorblind, so I'm presuming that he also questioned that momentarily. Like, wait, does it make red? Because red looks brown sometimes. Red's confusing. But if you mix yellow and purple light together, it makes white, which brown equals fighting, because yellow and purple mixed together doesn't work well because purple is a secondary color. So it makes brown. So they're like fighting for dominance, which sounds concerning, but we're going with it. But white, when you mix yellow and purple light and make white, that is the way to God in heaven. Because if you're perfectly in the middle of oppressed and oppressor, you're doing neither thing, which is good. Bible narrative / meta-narrative. I don't know when we switched words, but we did. The story of God's repeated choice of the dominated and lesser. For example, younger sibling. Abel over Cain, Isaac over Ishmael, Joseph over Reuben. Culturally inferior, infertile Sarah, not Hagar. Enoch's. If you don't know what those are, look it up. I don't have the definition on hand. I came up with that example. God's chosen, Israelites, small tribes, David. You know, David was the youngest sibling. The Israelites were a small group of people at first. They grew and became slaves. And so, sticks with this. Small tribes like Bethlehem, for example, is not very big, historically speaking. The New Testament, adulterous women, Good Samaritan. And so with the adulterous woman, as we read at the beginning of this lesson, she was supposed to be stoned according to the law, but Jesus said that they could not stone her. With the Good Samaritan, Samaritans were the descendants of Jews that had children with Gentiles, non-Jews, and they were looked down upon by Jewish society. So they were culturally considered lesser than other people. Even if you look at like Jesus, he was from a poor family. He was born in a stable. He was marginalized by the Pharisees. He had an unjust trial before his crucifixion. He died naked and penniless on the cross after a life of servitude. He stood up against corruption, and that got him killed. God picks the oppressed and considered lesser of society. He chose for Jesus to be born as the oppressed lesser of society, not as a great king come to defeat the Romans, like the Jews expected. A man was oppressed, but didn't respond with oppression, so God saved us from a cycle of oppression. That's Jesus. He was oppressed by the Pharisees, but he didn't oppress people. He was good to everyone. So, now we're saved. Anyways, it's time for me to go. Sorry about any weird pauses.